Hi there, I'm Toby Jenkins, CEO, Executive Director of Oklahomans for Equality, and welcome to the Dennis Arnell Equality Center. Today is Veterans Day, and it's 11 a.m. on November 11th. So it's 11/11/11, and the Veterans Parade is just starting outside of the Dennis Arnell Equality Center, but we want to take this opportunity to show tribute here that is honored for veterans and their service for the defense of our country. So you're in the Veterans Lounge, which is on the second floor of the Dennis Arnell Equality Center. We're open 7 days a week. You can visit us today even, and you can see how we have chosen to honor those who have defended our country and stood in harm's way for you and I. And so our lounge was first dedicated in 2008 on Veterans Day, and we were very proud to have a space that we dedicated to honor those who were in military service. And of course, in 2008, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was in force, and there was lots of debate over should LGBT persons be allowed to serve openly in the military. So this became our place of resistance and speaking to and advocating for LGBTQ people being allowed to serve openly in the military, since they'd been there all along. So we have each branch of the military, and I feel like it's very important that we acknowledge that today, so we're going to take the time. I believe you'll recognize this, but here is the Navy flag recognizing this branch of service. And here is this is the Marine Corps, which I believe is celebrating their 245th anniversary, and we have their flag on display. And this is for the Coast Guard, established 1790. And of course, the Old Glory, the flag, which flies over the Equality Center every single day and honors those who have served our country. Here is the Oklahoma flag, because we are the United States of America, and each of us has the honor of living in the great state of Oklahoma. And we've had many proud veterans who've served in the defense of our country from the state of Oklahoma. Here we have the United States Air Force flag. And here we have the United States Army flag. Now these are always on display here in the Veterans Lounge on the second floor of the Dennis Arnell Equality Center. You'll also notice we have a big pool table, so for people can hang out and they can do special things here. And so we have this pool table, which is dedicated in memory of Sergeant Harold Joseph Hooker. This is actually his flag and his medals. And this is the flag that was given to his family at the time of his death. He was a paratrooper in the Korean War, and at one time was one of the most decorated soldiers in Tulsa history. And he was gay, and his family and his friends wanted to do something special, so they raised the money, and he loved to play pool, and so the pool table is in his honor, and it gives folks something to do when they tour the center here. We also have on display the Bruce Plant political cartoons. Bruce Plant was a political cartoonist for the Tulsa World for several years, just recently retired. And so during the middle of the debate over gays serving in the military, these are some of the cartoons that appeared in the newspaper during the debate about should gays be able to serve openly in the military. Over here, these were the images that were so important to us when we were fighting for gay people to be able to serve in the military. These individuals allowed us to share their stories with our U.S. congressional leaders who were having to vote on whether the ban would be lifted. And so they allowed us to share their stories, and that's why they have this place of honor. And we'll just kind of go through them. As we talked about, Kelly, who's with us here today, there he is, as a young military person in the Air Force. Michael Merriman, who was in the Air Force. and John Revelle, who has died but continues to, his estate continues to support our SAGE programs. Jack Wagner, who we also have lost, was very involved in the Prime Timers. George Boyce, who we just lost this past year, who died from cancer. Kenneth Kearns with the U.S. Navy. Nancy Meadows, who is still very involved here at the center and part of Sisters in Song Women's Chorale. Jack Francis, who was very instrumental in the NAMES project, the AIDS quilts. We lost him several years ago. Dave Comack in the United States Navy. Jerry Custer, who served as our librarian here at the Equality Center for 10 years. He passed away this past year. Joe Allen Doty, U.S. Army. Nancy Bragg, Oklahoma Army National Guard. Saul Smith, who is in his 90s and still very involved in our SAGE program here. Hava Gordon, who now is living in Arkansas and doing a lot of work with the rural fire department and worked for American Airlines. She felt like it was very important that we recognize she's transgender, and so she wanted her military picture from her service, and here she is post-transition. Timothy Boken, United States Navy. John Camden, we called him Jack. United States Air Force. Trent Devon, United States Army Reserve. Bill Francesco, who everybody knows as Clogger Bill, who's still quite active in Tulsa LGBTQ community and did a lot of work after the war, working with the orphans of World War II who had lost their parents and used music and dance to be able to help them deal with the post-traumatic stress. Tony Carney, Anthony Carney, still very active here, volunteers at the center. Emmanuel Durant, the United States Air Force. Crystal Ann Sidebottom, United States Army. Mark Goins, United States Air Force, still very involved in the community and part of Council Oak. Greg Howard, United States Navy, lives here in the Tulsa area. Cody Champlain, with the United States Army. Susan Moss, the United States Navy. Donovan Hamilton, United States Army. We lost him in the last few years. Regina Edwards, happily married with 3 wonderful kids. Her and her wife Catherine live in Broken Arrow. Still very involved in the Tulsa and Broken Arrow community. United States Navy. Manuel Estrella was actually at the Pentagon when it was attacked on 9/11 and lived in Tulsa for several years. And I'm not real sure where Manuel is right now, but at this time he lived in Tulsa. Melanie Thurston, who I love Melanie, United States Army. Every year Melanie is responsible for our color guard, our Veterans Colored Guard. For years and years for our Pride Parade. Melanie is the organizer of that, puts all of that together and makes sure that we have the color guard, and they're always the first people to step out and lead for our Pride Parade. George Matarizoa, who was very involved here, he and his husband Bill, and we lost George several years ago, United States Air Force. Jimmy Grubb, United States Marines, and had his memorial service here a couple of years ago here at the Equality Center, was very involved with the Rodeo Association, Sooner State Rodeo Association, and the Lambda Bowling League. Lori Cooper, U.S. Navy, she lives now up in New Jersey, I believe. Sean Patrick Mills, who sent this picture while he was stationed in the military as a medic and is now finished med school and is now a medical provider, I believe, in Oklahoma City, and just recently got married. United States Army. Roger Morris, still very involved in our SAGE program and bowling programs. United States Air Force. Stan Simpson, who is in his 90s, just I believe is 92, United States Air Force. He was one of the navigators on the jets that flew to bomb Moscow during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and he was kicked out in 1965 for being gay. And under the Obama administration, he was restored to full military benefits and got his medals. Merrill Wilmoth, United States Coast Guard, still very involved in the prom timers. And so these individuals allowed us to tell their stories. Kelly, you remember, we were using your stories. We were trying to get those elected officials from Oklahoma who were representing us before Congress. We tried to get them to be able to advocate for Tulsans and Oklahomans who had stood in defense way. Unfortunately, the legislators from Oklahoma representing us at that time, they were not supportive of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender persons serving in the military. And so we couldn't count on them to support us. But the day was won and right prevailed. And in September 20th, and I've already forgot the date, September 20th, when the ban was lifted, the Equality Center served as the very first place in the United States to host military recruiters. And that day we had 11 individuals who signed up for the military here at the Equality Center. So we had the 5 branches of military come here. I couldn't get anywhere in Oklahoma or this region, so I had to go all the way to the Pentagon and work with Gowden Rackhaven, who was one of the liaisons at the Pentagon at that time. And all of a sudden, we were on the front page of every newspaper the next day after September 20th. 1,500 newspapers. Saturday Night Live included us in a skit, and it was funny because legislators from Oklahoma had opposed it, and yet there on the front page of the newspaper, we became the reality that now LGBT persons lesbian, gay, bi persons could serve openly in the military. Now, we are committed to fighting the ban on transgender persons. I'm very happy with the recent election results, and I'm hoping that that ban will be lifted by executive order and that transgender persons will be able to serve openly in the military because they've been there all along, standing in harm's way for you and I. So happy Veterans Day. Thank you for our veterans joining us. And if you want to know more about their stories and you want to visit the Veterans Lounge, we'll be open all day long till 9 o'clock tonight. God bless America, and thank you, veterans, for your service in the defense of our country.